privilege in a sacrificial way to push and advance the ball of justice and equity along with equality. As people talk about a whole lot of equality, equity, I think, is something that is another E word that needs to be introduced into this whole equation as well.
Yes, sir.
And so that crowd is thin in terms of white progressives. And, I don't know if and when that crowd will grow. But in the meantime, I'm just going to organize amongst our folk.
That's right.
And we'll just do what we do.
Yes, sir. And history will record what they did or did not do.
Exactly.
As Dr. King talked about in his last speech that I've been to the mountaintop, not only in that speech did he call for the boycott,
right.
and he was specific about the boycott of Wonder Bread, specific about the boycott of Coca-Cola, specific about the boycott of Seal Test ice cream and Hart's bread as well.
Yeah.
But he also went on to talk about and gave the parable about the priest who saw the man who had been hit in the head and robbed of his raiment and walked on by on the other side.
Right.
He talked about the Levite who saw the man in that condition, shook his head, but then did not stop him. And then he went on to talk about the Good Samaritan.
Good Samaritan.
And so as Dr. King said, it's not that if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to me? But if I don't stop to help them, then what will happen to them? Talk about the importance of, I think, of giving that to our people and those who say that they really want to help.
Yeah. And I think that parable is powerful, and it deserves a place in every generation because it just speaks so clearly, especially in the context of this country where we almost make it easy to walk on by, as the old song says. We make it easy. Our blind spots are getting bigger and bigger, sometimes by our hands and sometimes by factors beyond our control. But we are not seeing each other as much. We can see the suffering of our sisters and brothers right alongside, and as long as we're taken care of, it's fine. This is a hyper individualized society in which we live, and I think it goes strongly against what some people talk about, even in Africa, talk about Ubuntu. I am because we are, right? Yes. This whole interconnectedness that we are all together. And if my brother, and really Ubuntu was all up in as I think about it, all up in the teachings and parables of Jesus. He lays it out. He talks about even in that parable that it is not about, looking out for me, myself, and I, as the old song says, but it's about what will happen to my brother or my sister. And then by extension, if I don't extend myself, what happens to me?
That's right.
Because I believe a part of my soul is corroded when I don't reach out and be human. That's all it is. It's being human.
Yes.
And when we refuse to be human one to another, I think our own soul is corroded in some way, shape, or form as well. And so the degradation of the soul is something that's serious in our context.
Okay. Again, family, just tuning in, have a conversation. That was my brother, Pastor H.BROWN. We're going to go to this quick musical break as we transition into the second hour, and we'll open up the lines. Take your thoughts, questions, comments, as we're waiting also to be joined online by our sister to talk about this event that's going down tomorrow, the 5th anniversary and memorial service that's taking place in Turner Station Park tomorrow. We're going to have her join us hopefully at the top of the hour to give us a few minutes to talk about this event and this organization, Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters in Maryland. And we'll come back and continue our conversation with my brother and friend, Pastor H.BROWN, and get his thoughts and comments on, again, ordinary people getting into this movement, because this is what's going to change what we're looking at in terms of these conditions in our cities, this state, and this country. So listen to this message, and we'll be right back with more of the State of the City.
Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Help us all. Help us all. Heaven help us. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. Heaven help us all. Heaven help me to exhale words that heal on this mic. Cause heaven knows I'm human when I'm wrong and when I'm right. Heaven help the blood, sweat, and tears that it took to make this record. And heaven help those that need this lesson to listen and perfect it and check it. Help them all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. straws for your ladies. Hey, help us all. Help us. Help us all. Help us Heaven help us understand when you take your soldiers home. Heaven help us understand that nothing lasts forever. Heaven help us see on this planet we got to live together. On this planet we got to love together. Heaven help us through the stormy weather. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us. Help us. One step away from wars. Bombs bursting in the air. Does anybody care? It's a modern day basketball. You will watch them go. Help us. Help us all. For our babies, for the future. Help us all.
Welcome back. You listen to the State of the City. And now, family, gives me, again, great honor to come back in with my brother, Pastor Heber Brown, and we'll open up the lines, take your thoughts, questions, comments. Do have the mother of Christopher Brown, who is a part of this organization, Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters, joining me online, but others can join as well. Questions, comments, but also to talk about this memorial cookout that takes place, but it's an opportunity for fellowship for parents and of murdered children in the city and throughout the state. So let me go to the line and get Miss Chris Brown up. Let me say good afternoon, peace be unto you, and welcome to the State of the City, my sister.
Good afternoon. I am so happy to be with you today. You have been such a great supporter of me and the moms that are in Baltimore that have had tragedies happen to our children. You know, and right now we're turning the tables. We're actually asking for the moms to step forward and the ones that have had this type of tragedy happen and come join us, because we're actually asking for sit-downs with the police department. We're asking for sit-downs with the community associations. We're asking for a sit-down with the, what do you call it, oh gosh, there's a couple of people, the church administration, like the Baptist associations. And the reason for some of these sit-downs is because, you know, churches are in our neighborhood and there's things that are going so wrong, and we're going to need their assistance. We're willing to sit down and work on strategies so that they can basically be a concrete support system for, the homelessness, the aftercare, before care programs, camps for children, helping us open up centers for our children in the summer. You know, we want to work with the police department because we're not up to attack them, but we're not giving them permission to come in our communities and wreak havoc. We're asking that they allow us to come in and be speaking to some of their staff, telling our stories so that they can know that when they go out into our communities, they have stories to go on that of the destruction that some of them, wreak on our communities.
Yes, ma'am.
We want to.
Okay. All right.
It's quite a bit, and we feel like
I know this. We ain't gonna be able to get it all out on the show, but I want to focus on again the issue of mothers of murdered children, because I know that they have a story to tell, and of course, out of their passion will become the movements that has to take place, and of course, to get legislation passed on a local level and on a national level as well. And so it has to come from the hearts and from the minds of the mothers and from the families of murdered sons and daughters. So again, tomorrow, what time is this event taking place?
It is actually going to take place at 3 o'clock, I think from 3 to 8, and it's 23, let me look at this. I know it's in Turner Station.
Rain Road is what I'm looking at, this flyer here.
It's Rain Road.
Right, okay.
And it's just, so that we can help Daphne be able to celebrate her son's life in the way that she wants to celebrate, and it brings moms together so that we can, kind of support each other. We have every second Sunday of every month, we have moms support group that help us organize and help us to continue to move forward with our endeavors.
Right.
So we're asking moms to come out tomorrow, get more information about, how they can, come out and get the support that's needed for the moms in our community.
Okay. What if they can't make it? Is there a phone number that they can call?
They can. It's 443-509-1824 is my phone number. They can feel free to call, and I'll give them all information if they need the directions on tomorrow or information on our second Sunday meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And, of course, got to ask before we let you go, as we're talking about this issue of, again, mothers and families of murdered sons and daughters in the city of Baltimore. Again, talk about, I think, at least on a state level, one of the delegates and senators that you have been working with has been Delegate Carter to champion a law named after your son, 17-year-old Christopher Brown. So talk about, I think, the importance, because to my knowledge, I think in any other state, I don't think there's been any laws that's been passed to talk about the importance of the training of police officers to make sure they're training and adequately trained so that they can provide the necessary response when someone is fighting for their life, breathing for their lives, but
right.
also in terms of, again, I think, beginning to talk about how do we pass laws to protect our children as we see the white community, the gay community, the Hispanic community, the other community passing the legislation. But we have to do the same on the state level in every one of these other 49 states, including the state of Maryland. Can you speak to that?
It is very important for us to get on the board where we can't hit them one way. We have to hit them with legislation.
Yes.
These are laws, and Jill Carter is working very close. And after, the verdict came from my son's case, we knew we needed more legislation. And so we're sitting down together and working with, the policing. We really want reform from our department.
Right.
And that's where legislation comes. And I think more people need to get involved when it comes down to understanding the law and understanding that there's laws to be changed.
Yes.
And we're going after the laws so that our community can be a lot better. And this is where you hit them.
Yes,
you go and study about legislation and what laws you see are a problem. Listening to moms, I listened to them saying that they couldn't go and see their loved ones after the death of their loved ones. Well, that's a legislation.
Right.
That is a law that needs to be changed. You have the right to see who identify the bodies of your loved ones, and you shouldn't be, kept from that. And there needs to be a law put in place that we have that right. Right now, we're working just because the death of my son. I mean,
yes.
it was unfortunate that the officer did not know CPR, and none of the people in the community. So we want laws passed that we get officers that are equipped. And also, we wanted to work on the law that it's a line that an officer is on duty and off duty.
Yes,
they need rest. They need relaxation. They don't need to jump into duty and make the costly mistakes that officer made on the death of my son. He should have been home. He should have called for help. Same with the Trayvon Martin's case. There's laws, and he shouldn't have ever got out the car.
That's right.
There needs to be guidelines, and we need to fight for those guidelines. And I'm here with anybody that wants to go forward and go into Annapolis and help with the legislation passed.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, let me just say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, Ms. Chris Brown, and just coming on the show and share that information with us, along with the other members, of course, and inviting those other moms and family members that have lost loved ones in the city and in the state, because this is not just city, but this is statewide. And again, I believe that change is going to come from mothers and families who have lost children through the acts of violence in this country. So I say thank you again. All right.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, and I love you.
Welcome. Love you more now. We'll take more of your calls. Pastor Brown, thoughts and comments on this organization, mothers of murdered sons and daughters, and how, again, it's important and critical that most of the solutions are going to come from those who have lost loved ones through this senseless acts of violence in the city and in the state, and ultimately in this country and on the planet.
Yeah, I think the organization is great. I have a very personal connection to the organization as Daphne Austin, who is the heartbeat and tip of the spear, so to speak, in terms of the organization, is one of the surrogate mothers who helped raise me.
Yes.